So, after picking up an elf and going out on the hunt, we're finally at the next section of this particular campaign. The Vale of Blossoming Trees. And our objective is to find a sage. Located right there. They are brigands and they must be destroyed. And so we have it. We finally begin. This map has two enemy teams this time around. You have the green team to the south, you have your blue team to the east, and we have that us in the top left corner. Although not all the way up there. So let's get started. It is an early morning. I decided to move all the main characters out so I can start recruiting some. When the enemy starts recruiting their own stuff, we'll start seeing more of the undead this time around. As you can see, not many units to be recruited there, but this main lot is what we're more concerned with. So the conditions for actually being able to win is to A. Move Epheliel, our elven friend, to Mebrin's village. Thankfully she can fly. Else, this would probably take quite a bit longer. Although, I believe I just decided to play it safe and decided to move her around the mountains. And we also have to cleanse the Vale of Tears, which means eliminate all the enemy, essentially. So there you have it. I decided to start plotting some forces up towards where the blue team is going to be. I also recruited a few more. Although not too many, because we'd probably end up running out of gold. As each unit, unless they have the loyal attribute, which only occurs during story events where there is no gold required to keep them. So I decided to move some over, take over some towns, and just reinforce the area, since they're more likely to attack us than us attack them. Then you got your skeletons and you got your zombies. Or at least I think they're zombies. Are they zombies? No, they're a walking corpse. And they have the plague attribute, which means if any character gets killed, they get turned into a zombie themselves. If they're not on the village. The bandits move towards us, and at this point I'm starting to think that they might try and cross over here, so I start grabbing some troops. I think it's a couple of turns, or I think it's this one, maybe. Yeah, I start bringing in some units. So yeah, what you saw there earlier with Epheliel is that she can use a range of attacks, including magical attacks. Magical attacks being more effective in their chance to hit, and generally a bit damaging, but they're fixed at 70% chance of hitting at any time, so they can still miss. As you can see, the enemy is starting to mount their assault on us. Of course, they're not very successful at all. So with that, the bandits make their move, and they start moving towards the mountains, which is what I was expecting them to do. Just gonna check if I have it working. Do I have it working? Not a clue in the darned world. That should be fine. So anyway, we heal up a little bit thanks to the Holy Mage. And we get the talk of weapons being useless. They do a bit of damage, just not very much. Crushing weapons are more effective. I start moving some of the forces south, and do attempt to mount some sort of defense against them. Thankfully they don't deal too much damage here. So yeah. Of course, recruit more. And get lucky with those attempts at swiping. They just sometimes barely miss, sometimes they do hit. And that is how the game is played. And of course the bandits start backing off for some reason from this area, possibly due to the fact that I've got units headed their way. Mr. Hylas just ends up healing adjacent units. And we managed to deal with some of the intruders. I tend to use ranged attacks since they're less likely to be countered in this case. And of course, the Necromancer keeps on recruiting. Right on. And our first casualty of this campaign. And everyone is surprised that, of all things, she has a bodyguard. They suddenly show up. Then we have our second casualty. The bandits are attacking us more towards the northern area, rather than this side. Oh well. Mr. Hylas continues to heal. We continue wailing on them with ranged attacks. As ineffective as it is, no chance of counterattack. I start moving some of my forces to the south to deal with some of the intruders. A thing to note about some of the elvish bodyguards is that they have the ambush attribute, which means that they can hide in any grassland, well, trees where there's foliage. Anything that isn't right next to an enemy they can hide in, and so an enemy can get ambushed if they get too close to these spots. So yeah. Bandit's turn. Going after the peasant. A bit of healing is done. And we attempt to attack these bandits, as well as the undead. Overall, it's not too bad. The peasant doesn't make much headway though. And at this point I decide to hide some of the bodyguards in the trees just so I can lure them into a trap. Not much happened there. Now the archers are trying to attack us, as well as the footpads. This is very much a game about contingencies. Things can and most likely will go wrong at some point, so it's best to be prepared for those. Dealing with the walking corpses though is pretty easy, as long as you don't have a whole bundle of them, as I believe I mentioned a few videos back. The undead continue moving. Bandit attempts to attack this poor spearman. I believe the reason for that is due to the fact that the spearmen have like one ranged attack compared to like their 3 spear attacks, and so things can be altered vastly. Deal with one of the bandits before nightfall, and another. We'll start moving south towards the bandits themselves, just so we can deal with them. And somehow I do not manage to hit that single archer there in the village. Bit sad, but those things happen. Right, and meanwhile I'm saying Ephelial over around just to pass by rather than make an outright attack, since the Dark Adept has a magical attack as well as us. The undead try to attack us a little bit, but overall, not too much changes with Jarek. This is still fairly okay, but on harder difficulties, as I said, it's probably a lot more challenging due to the fact that you have to manage with 2 enemy teams against you, and they're more competent at what they do. I just used the elf bodyguard just to eliminate some of the enemy. Right there. Of course, the leader just jumps out at that very moment. Jarek gets wailed on a bit, so a little bit worried about his condition. One of our archers goes down there, and of course the archers attack the cavalryman because he doesn't have a ranged attack. And lucky enough for us, we get to heal up a little. And we deal with the Dark Adept. Now it's just a matter of cleaning up the rest of the undead. Unfortunately, the horse is really low on health. But there's not much we can do, so we just move everyone a little bit closer. As you see there, the plague attribute turned into an enemy. But daylight comes again, and we have to deal with the undead. Thankfully, we've cleared that all up, so now it's just the bandit, and so we start moving Ephelial over. I move over the horseman to a village so he can heal up, and try to deal with another villager. As well as the troops down to the south and the forests and such. I decided to upgrade this spearman over to our javelineer, since it gets both a ranged and a melee attack, and is overall pretty good. I mean, alternatives could include a swordsman or a pikeman. As you can see, only 10-3 is not much. And same could be said for swordman, 8-4. I mean, it's a lot of damage, but you have to consider how the enemy is going to react. So yeah, bandits don't do much, I don't think. You try to take on the peasant, but in the end, not too effective. We get healed up while they continue losing health. And there you have it. Continue moving Ephelial, since I do believe we're reaching towards the end of this particular point. I mean, the bandits aren't really going anywhere, are they? They're kind of in retreat mode, since it is high in the sun is high in the sky, and yeah. More healing is done, we start clearing out all the rest of them. And we start moving our units south, so Ephelial can get over to the unit marker. Since it is getting pretty close to night, we decide to speed things up a little. Move everyone a little closer, bit at a time. And we've pretty much got the whole forest on lockdown. Start splitting Ophelia out, so she's not going to be targeted anytime soon. And that footpad decides he or she wants to go out and take a look at the water beyond this area. I'm partially guessing that the unit was going to try and make its way through the forest up north on this side route, but not much really comes of it. Because we get ever so closer, and there's not much to be done about it. Of course, at this point, the leader jumps out knowing that there's gonna be trouble ahead. So I get the spearman and try and get a hit in, and I also stand in on the castle tiles so the green team leader cannot recruit any more units while that is happening. At this point I start to move in for the kill and block off any chance of escape. Of course the footpad continues to move north, but I don't pay much mind to it. The bandit is gone. And so I move on to the tile and complete the mission. And of course, Mebrin, the person who was seeking, is not there. So it's time to head south. We'll see you next time when that happens. Yes, we're going to battle with vengeance. At least the elves have vengeance. Who knows? So yeah, I'm Kerlath Law, and you've been watching Battle for Wesnoth, the Southern Guard. We'll see you next time when we travel south and hopefully find our sage. Until then, take care.